Ang ibig sabihin ng salitang Bukidnon ay mga taong naninirahan sa kabundukan. Ito ang tawag sa mga original settlers ng lalawigan nang lumipat sila sa matataas na lugar matapos dumami ang mga taga-ibang bayan na naninirahan sa kapatagan. Ayon sa kasaysayan ng mga katutubo sa Bukidnon, mayroong 4 na pangunahing tribo sa Central Mindanao. Ang mga Maranao kung saan naninirahan sa Lanao del Sur at Maguindanao. Manubo at Talaandig ay naninirahan sa silangan, timog at hilagang bahagi ng orihinal na probinsya ng Cotabato. Samantala, sa mismong probinsya ay matagal nang pinaninirahan ng mga katutubong Bukidnon, Igaunon, Talaandig, Manubo, Matigsalog, Tigwahanon at Umayamnon, kung saan sila ang tinutukoy ng mga Espanyol na mga Bukidnon.
According to Tahonera 2003, the Higaunon are among the least known ethno-linguistic group that inhabit north-central Mindanao. They are described as the people of the living mountain or people of the wilderness. Their name is derived from native word Higa means to live or reside, Gaon means mountain or highland, and Unun means people. Higaunon believe in the invisible supernatural being led by Magbabaya, the most powerful of all. This spirit possesses human characteristic, and while most are beneficent, they have to won over with the sacrifices of food and drink. Pamuhat is a generic term for ceremonies propitiating the spirit through prayers and sacrifices of food and drinks. On the other hand, the province of Bukidnon defines pamuhat as an offering of the deities upon entering an unknown place, especially forested areas. This is done when somebody asks for permission to enter a forest or a cave to gather fruits, trees known to be inhabited by spirits. In conclusion, rituals and ceremonies have remained a part of the Higaunon way of life until the present. The tribal community held a Kaamolan festival anytime during the year, either to give thanks for a good harvest, to celebrate a victory, a wedding, a baptism, or a family reunion.
Going to feature the Bukidnon tribe and their culture. Let's go! The Bukidnon are one of the traditionalistic ethnic group in the southern Philippines. They inhabit the northeastern part of Mindanao, which is the second largest island in the archipelago. The term Bukidnon was derived from a Cebuano language, but nowadays it is accepted by the most members of the ethnic group referred to. The word Bukid means mountain or highland, while the word Binukid means in the manner or style of the mountain or highland. The vast majority of the people of Bukidnon speaks Bisaya or Cebuano. Lumads speak a variety of dialects. Some Christian settlers speak Hiligaynon and Ilocano. Most also speak in English. Their major means of subsistence are food gathering and swidden agriculture. There are 7 different tribes in the province, namely the Talaandig, Higaunon, Bukidnon, Matigsalug, Umayamnon, Manubo, and Tigwahayon. The indigenous people who simply identify themselves as Bukidnon are mostly found in the northern part of the province. They specifically inhabited the lower slopes of Sumilao around Malaybalay and those lowland areas of central Bukidnon. A Datu, or a chieftain, is the political and spiritual ruler of each tribe. The Datu is the one who disputes and gives judgment whenever their unwritten laws, called batasan, are violated. The Bukidnon Datu holds a great influence on the tribal and communal life of the Bukidnons. Aside from maintaining peace and order within the tribe, he also performs rituals like the Panlisigan, or driving away bad spirits, and Panumanuran, or calling for the entrance of spirits who guide the Datu in his decisions. Bukidnon is home to a wealth of traditions and is abounding in cultural, artistic, and aesthetic heritage. They have their native musical instruments, and their visual art is traditionally expressed in weaving, crafts, earth painting, beadwork, patchwork, and embroidery. They are also experimental in their application of matte edgings. Usually, traditional Bukidnon clothings are decorated with geometric shapes like binituon, binabangun, and kinabuka. These traditional Bukidnon garments are widely ornate with shapes and strong colors of red, blue, white, and black. This is also seen in the making of their traditional headdress, which is called panika. The Bukidnon traditional embroidery process is called panulam, and the embroidered cloth is pinamulaan. Wondering about my background music? Well, this is a song from Bukidnon, but a reggae version of it. The title of the song is Sitana, a Manubu song which invites everyone to proudly dance the tribal or Manobo way of dancing. This became popular to Gen Z around the nation and usually played in live bands and parties because of its upbeat music that can really make everyone groove.
Habang nasa Bukidnon ang aming grupo, naimbitahan kami ng isang tribong Higaunon upang maranasan ang kanilang mga tradisyon. Sa proseso ng pagdodokumento sa kanilang kultura, may mga bago kami natutunan tungkol sa buhay. Ito ang kwento sa likod ng aming pagkikwento.
Magandang araw. Pinapakilala ko si Amay Matangkilan ng Tribu Higaunon. Siya po yung leader ng Higaunon sa Mintapud. Prepare siya ng mga gagamitin para sa ritual na gagawin natin.
Sa pagbisita namin sa City Mintapud, iba't ibang karanasan ang gumising sa aming kamalayan. Gaya na lang paghahanda ng mamaon ng mga nakakatanda para sa kanilang mga ninuno. Sa mga probinsya sa Pilipinas, nakaugalian ng paggamit ng mama, mamaon o mama. Sabi ng mga lokal, ito raw ang pag-iisang puso ng mga tao, mapabisita man o kapwa lokal. Sa pamamagitan nito, ang isang dayo ay nagiging bahagi ng komunidad.
Piso.
Yung ritual talaga, isa yun sa obligado tayo na lahat ng pumasok dito sa komunidad. Yan yung formal na permission natin pumasok. At saka, it's a form of cleansing sa atin dahil tagalabas tayo. Yung mga kasama ko, sina Dato Juni Pantaon, si Amay, at saka si Brindo Pantaon. Sila yung mga leader ng community nito, ng mga Higaunon sa Mintapud.
Sinisimbolo ng mamaon ng pagsusumamo ng tribo sa kanilang mga ninuno para ingatan ng mga komunidad at bisita. Kalakip din ito ang dasal na lumabas ang tunay na intensyon ng mga bisitang gaya namin na lumayo sa kanilang lugar.
Simula ng ritual, kanya-kanyang personal ng panalangin ang inalay nila sa magpabaya o may kapal. Sa pagsasakripisyo ng mga manok, naniniwala sila na malumustulan ng mga ito mensahero na maghahatid ng mga dasal nila sa mga ninuno sa kabilang buhay.
Bawat isa sa atin, yung gustong pumasok dito, lagay natin yung kamay natin sa dugo. May mark tayo na-cleanse tayo. Parang winawaswasan yung mga kung ano mang galing sa labas. Yan, yung feather nilalagay na sa bangkaso o yan yung altar ng mga katatubo. at merong iba't ibang levels ng altar kasi may iba't ibang levels ng ritual. Ito yung unang parte ng ritual. Lulutuin yun. May second part na ritual na pagsasaluhan ng lahat. Yun yung part na magdadasal tayong lahat. I-offer natin.
Yan. Sinasaing ko na yung kanin ng bigas. Ito si Sir Alden na maestro sa school. Ronnie Tumana. Ako si Lia Pantaon. Yan kaon mo pakiyala ko nga nyo ba? Ito si Ate Teresa na Pantaon, asawa ni Sergeant Pantaon. Ito si Nanay Luisa na Bandahan, na teacher namin sa tribo. Siya ang teacher namin. At saka si Amay, yung teacher namin sa tribo dito sa klase namin sa SLT. Yun. Kinamo ang pangalan namin dito, Kinamo. Kakainin natin ngayon to pag maluto na itong suman na kamote.
Marami na kami mga pagkain na subukan sa iba't ibang lugar din ng Pilipinas pero wala pa rin masasarap sa pakiramdam na syempre ipaghanda ka ng mga tradisyonal na putahe. Iba rin ang saya na makita ang buong komunidad na nagtutulungan para bigyan kami ng mainit na pagtanggap.
Suminawa, suminaksi, suganda, tuministik. Laktor, ikauyag day. Yun, tako ang gawa, tako. Abi, ilan ito maging tanga doon day. Yapat ang pahimog. Takarong kili, dumadumakay. Banuma day. Kadawat na day. Kapukinam day. Sikay. Kabuhat.
Isang karangalan din na suotan kami ng galang habukala, isang brass bangle ng kanilang dato. Pinaniniwalaan na ang bukala ay may taglay na kapangyarihan para itaboy ang masasamang elemento. Tanging dato lang ang maaaring magbigay nito sa mga taong bumibisita sa kanilang komunidad.
Gahom na dito, katubangan, mas manago. Katuban dari sa gagaw. Wala, tumbas na po na. Sige na, aron na. Kayo sir, kayong lahat. Pwede tikman nyo yung kuhan, kamuti yan. Ito palaka. Yung watergrass. Ini kadaw.
Pinagsaluhan na namin ng mga manok, yung mga inaalay nila sa ritual, yung niluto na komunidad para sa amin habang binabasaan pa rin kami. Kakaibang pakiramdam dahil para itong commitment na inassign sa amin para maibahagi ang mga kanilang mga kwento sa mas nakarami at pinakamabuting paraan. Yun, iyakap na lang namin yung responsibilidad na ito ng buong puso.
Noong una po ay pinaka po si Dato, Mambalasahan, Altuhan. Mario yung Christian na pangalan. So kaming Higao noon, dami kami sing pangalan. So ako na po si Idot, yung palayo ko po at saka Brindo po yung Christian na pangalan ko. Tapos yung nag-asawa na ko po yung si Mambibuan. Si Amay, sino po si Amay, si Dato Puregaba, Dato Amay Mantangkilan. May palayaw siya pero hindi masyado siya binabanggit kasi sagrado. Siya ang buong may alam sa tradisyon. Siya din po ang may alam kung ano ang galaw ng kagubatan. Tapos si Dato Manggaygayan, Juni pa tao sa Christianim niya. So bago lang siya na ordinahan pagkadato dahil nagserbisyo siya ng Philippine Army.
Isang po kayo naka-assign?
Naikot ko na buong Bukidnon.
Ako naman po si Dindo Pantaon, aking nakatandang kapatid. Si Kuan po, Brendo. Yan po.
Amay, baka pwede niyo pong maikwento sa amin kung ano po ang kadti. Ano po yung kahalagahan ng ancestral domain at paano po ito napunta na-i-award na po sa community.
Gusto ko sa iya, dami ko na din si Paliti, Palitmal, hindi na oni makalini, amay, kalwagay mas bugtaan.
Sabi ni Amay, nung una, sabi ni Father Bling at saka ni Father Mar, Amay, ang lawak ng iyong lupain. Mas mabuti pa siguro, i-claim mo ito, gawin mo itong ancestral domain, kadti, para itong lupain mo, hindi na basta-basta makuha ng iba pang tao. So, ang kadti na ito ay pang 54 na nai-award, kung di ako nagkakamali, sa buong Pilipinas.
Amay, paano niyo po pinaglaban yon yung kadti? Kasi hindi basta-basta nabibigay yan eh.
Sa prisa, sugod sa ko, pakino sa tananakalpis.
Ang sabi ni Amay, ang mga boundaries kasi natatakot si Amay na baka lumagpas yung area na ituturo niya sa karatig mga kadti. So unang ginawa niya, binirefy niya yung boundary doon banda sa Agusan del Sur at
Si
saka
Amay mismo yung umikot dun sa ruta na yun?
Opo, dahil noon pa man alam na ni Amay yan kasi hunter kasi si Amay.
Bakit ganun po pinaglaban ni Amay yung kadti? Kasi dedikasyon yun eh. 14,000 hectares, inikot ni Amay yun. Ano pong masasabi po ninyo doon? Ang hirap nun.
Si Amay kasi ayaw niya mag-asawa. Kasi gusto niya sa bundok lang siya para mapangalagaan niya yung natural resources at yung mga boundaries na hanggang ngayon pinopromote pa niya. Tapos ayaw niya ng gulo. So kaya iniikot niya yung mga neighboring dato o namahala sa ibang boundary, mga kadti, ay kinukonsulta niya. Yon ang sakripisyo niya nung nagdeklara ng i-claim, so hindi na nahirapan.
Bale, ito po ang kabuuang 3D map ng kadti ng Agbihiko o Agtulaon, Mintapod, Higaonon, Comadon. So, dito yung Agusan del Sur. Doon naman, Misamis Oriental. At dito naman yung Karatig Munisipyo. Ito yung kabuuang mapa, makita natin doon banda, mga bulubundukin. Yun yung na kuha ni Amay kanina, nabanggit ni Amay yung bundok na pinakasagrado ng mga Higaonon, yung pinakapik. Andun. Yan ang Mount Kimangkil, yung pinakapik na area dito. So, kung ilukit natin ang Mintapod, andyan sir, kung saan tayo naroon ngayon.
Dito tayo ngayon.
14,313 hectares.
Yung lahat ng boundary na ito, naikot ni Amay?
O lahat na.
Lagpas pa nga po sir.
Lagpas pa.
Kasi depende yun sa kasi nangangaso siya.
Sergeant, paano po natulungan ng Armed Forces of the Philippines yung mga katutubo?
1982, yung NPA, dumami na sila kasi yung mga dato parang minamasa na nila para dumami sila. So kami, nagre-recruit na, army na. So kinakalat na kami doon sa mga community. So yan ang ginawa ng army para hindi makapenetrate yung mga NPA. Para yung pamumuhay ng mga lumad, yung mga community, patuloy. Hanggang ngayon, patuloy pa rin yung pamumuhay na mahusay.
Okay. Amay, baka pwede niyo po sa amin ipakilala naman po ang Sitio Mintapon.
Ibe una, ng pasimbo daw sinapo na sa yung lang po o ang babasok sa butak wala ko mga sundanon pamamigtasidan.
Sabi ni Amay, nung kapanahonan pa ng aming mga ninuno, ang Mintapod ay peaceful, mapayapa. Isa pa, sabi niya, ang Mintapod ay isang sagradong lugar. Yung tinatawag naming Tulong Danon o Sacred Ground. So, nung una, hindi ito dapat gawing sitio o gawa ng bahay dahil nga sagrado itong lugar na ito, ang sitio Mintapod. Pero sa paglipas ng panahon, dahil na rin sa mga tumulong, yung mga ninuno at si Amay, napilitan silang, hey, tayo natin ang mga bahay para dito na tayo manirahan.
Idagdag ko lang siguro, sir. Nagawa itong sitio. Doon pa sila Amay nanirahan sa Patuga. 1976. Tapos, may mga religious na pumasok dito na walang paalam. Ang dami sila, mga 100 plus. Dito sila nanirahan. So, yung plano nila na dito sila gawa ng barangay. Kung ayaw nyo na yung mga religious sector na makatira dito, kayo ang tumira dito. Kami nang bahala, papaalis sa kanila. So doon, ginawa nila Amay, dito sila na nirahan. Tapos sila, Monsignor Rosales, kinausap yung leader nila sa religious sector. So pinaalis sila. So hanggang ngayon, Mintapod.
Bakit po kayo ngayon open na po sa amin na i-share yung kultura, yung pamumuhay, yung tao kasi hindi po lahat open. Hindi kasi sagrado din naman talaga.
Kasi Amay, dati hindi mo makikita yan sa dito. Diyan lang sa sa bundok o sa gubat. Pero nung na-Christianize na kami, kailangan na magsityo, makihalubilo sa mga tao. Kasi ang higao nun, sabi ni Amay, pakumbaba, yung flexible ba, yung ayaw ng gulo. Balikan natin yung sinabi kanina ni Amay na palaging nakipag-usap sa mga silingan o mga neighboring na mga village para yung relasyon na patuloy. Tapos sa tanong mo ngayon na open na, dati pa yan na nung pumasok na yung sa iglesia. So doon na kami na kailangan talaga alagaan natin ang Mintapod. Ikumpara sa ibang lugar, ibang tribo, ay dito ay walang yung tapang. Wala. Kasi may kultura kami na sinusunod na dati pa. Yung relasyon na parang hahawak ka ng itlog na ayaw mabasag namin. So kailangan iingatan namin yan. So kaya ang daming pumapasok, tinatanggap kung sino yung magandang pakitutungo o ikatulong dito sa sitio Mintapod sa Mexico.
Bilang nakakatanda po sa lahat, ano pa pong pangarap po ninyo sa Mintapod?
Sa saman-saman, so napadya ko mga sa agpagdaglasan. Ito, nakataman-taman yung kwento Mintapod. Ang gusto niya ay gusto niya ngayon ay mangyayari lahat ng mga kapatid o mga katribo namin ay magsitol daw na dito.
Isa sa mga pangunahing hanap buhay ng mga kababaihan sa sitio Mintapod ang paghahat. Malalim ang koneksyon nito sa kanilang tradisyon at kultura. Bawat kulay may kahulugan. Bawat simbolo may kalakip na kwento. May kinalaman din ang edad ng naghahabi sa responsibilidad na nakaatang sa kanya.
Ang kwento nila sa amin, si Baay Anak ang kauna-unahang tagahabi ng hinabol. Gumamit daw siya ng puklas, isang uri ng abihan na kinakabit sa likod. Inuwi raw ni Baay Anak ang habilan at tinawag na hablanan tina o hilalama, abaca planting material, at sugarcane press o ligid-ligid.
Sa tradisyon ng komunidad, sinusuot lang ang hinabol tuwing may special na okasyon gaya ng mga kasal, tribal peace pacts, at pagtitipon bilang pasasalamat sa mga mahalagang bisita. Ginagamit din ito bilang handog o dowry sa kasal o kabayaran para maresolba ang mga di pagkakaintindihan.
Nakatatak na sa kamalayan ng bawat isa ang tradisyon ng paghahapi. Importante ang hinabol sa mga taga-sityo dahil iilang kababaihan lang na tinatawag na bae ang nakakapaghabi sa komunidad. Sa paniniwala nila, ang bae ay may pusong mapagbigay.
Siya po si Vilma Tumanas. Siya yung master weaver, si Canliner as a master weaver. So sila na ngayon ang master weaver din. Ito po si Luisa Bandahan. Master weavers din. Sila na ngayon ang namin, teacher. Ate Lea, siya din yung kasama din dito si Norma Tinapay. Siya ang tagabantay namin dito. So mga bagong weavers,
batch namin.
mga kabatch ito.
Batch namin.
Si
Batchmate.
Inday, pinaabot. So mga master na din sila mag-weave. Yung ganito, ito po yung mga traditional sling bag namin. Tapos ito din yung design nyo na, ito na din yung pong sabi ko kanina na traditional design. Itong tawag namin dito is ginontian. Ito, kinanaway tulad ng ginawa kanina na pagdidisenyo pa. Ito pong ginontihan, ang bae lang ang pwede mag-weave dito. Bawal kami dito kung hindi pa kami binigyan ng authorized na mag-weave. Tapos, ito yung ito din yung traditional design din. Kita nyo may kaibahan siya. Tawag namin binodbod, katulad ng ganito, kaibahan din siya. Tulad din ng yung ganito din kinanaway. Ito yung sabi ko na simple design pero traditional din ito. So, bali ngayon, ito yung talagang natural na kulay. Tapos yung mga ganito, kung gusto namin mag-weave ng by meter, so ito na yun siya. Dahil sa sobrang na yung nag-production na kami, tapos gusto namin na mas makilala kung ano ang pwedeng magawa ng abaca fiber. So, hinaluan namin ng mga earrings or ganito. Kasi sayang naman din kung yung mga yung mga reject namin sa galing dito. So, kung itatapon na lang na basura din naman. Sa amin lang talaga sa kababaihan dito. Kaya nga nagpasalamat kami kasi pinayagan kami magbenta. Kasi ito na yung kabuhayan namin. Kung wala ito, sabi nga na yung mga master weaver, kasi sabi nila kung hindi ako nakapag-weave or hindi ako marunong dito, yung anak ko, hindi ko masuportaan ng pag-aaral. Parang sa akin lang ang siya, sobrang gift, o ano ba yun, ng gift ng Panginoon para sa amin. Matuto kami ng ganito.
Hindi matutumbasan ng mga naging karanasan namin kasama ang komunidad at sunod naman nila kaming tinuruan gumawa ng langkuga, ang bersyon nila ng rice wine.
Linalabhan yan para gawing salaan sa tinggis.
Reklamo po doon ay para isaban.
Hindi pwede gamitan yan ng sabon kasi masira yung sinubog.
Sa iya ko isumbo na sa ay pakaduha daw. Sa inaw ay hatag inuma.
Sabi ni Bae, pag malagay na yan sa sinubog, yung piniga na tubo, mga 2 araw, pwede na yung inumin. Pero pwede natin tikman kung anong lasa niya pag nahalo na yung kuan, yung
Pwede,
piniga
pwede.
na tubo.
Sige, dato.
Ako ang mauna.
Ron, muna imo. Oh, naradidin. Muna imo dato sa una pa.
Ano lasa?
Hindi na aabot ng 2 araw. Makalasing na to.
Yeah. Ay, sige po.
Ako sayo, paaso eh. Ano sa sayang?
Fermented na siya. May kaunting tamis galing dun sa tubo. Sarap. Makakalasing na nga to.
Makalasing na pag marami yung
marami. Amon.
Ang ganong ahing
Oh,
dili.
yan din. Maloon mo pa dos.
Ah.
Mikon.
Ano yung amin kontas on ma?
Okay na siya.
Konta.
Sarap. This is insane.
Sakta din.
Ito na po, dato yung nakakalasing.
Yung kalalasing.
Mas matapang na. Ilang araw na po to?
Mga 3 days.
Oo, 3 days.
Medyo may maasim na kuan.
Sarap siya.
Mas gusto ko yung lasa ng fermented.
2 days.
3 days?
3 days.
Diba mo tagsamba?
Mas gusto ko na to.
Jesus me.
Sarap ng kanin.
Oo nga, no. Solid. Sino gusto mo try?
Aabot na ng 6 days. Parang kuan na, para ng suka.
Dapat mainom na. Mas
Binded na.
Mas gusto namin yung 3 days. Sagradong tradisyon.
Pagkain.
Karanasan,
Mga bagong kaibigan.
Walang kapantay na kaligayahan.
Tuloy lang sa paglakbay, sa pagbabahagi at pakikibagay.
Bukidnon, located in the northern part of Mindanao, Philippines, is known for its rich cultural heritage, stunning landscapes, and vibrant festivals. Here's an overview covering its history, culture, arts, tourism, and festivals. Indigenous roots. Before the arrival of the Spanish colonizers, the area was inhabited by various indigenous groups, notably the Bukidnon, Higaonon, Talayandig, Manobo, and Matigsalug. Spanish colonization. During the Spanish colonial period, Bukidnon became part of the vast encomienda system. However, the rugged terrain made it difficult for the Spanish to fully conquer and control the region. American period. Bukidnon became a province in 1914 during the American colonial era. The American government encouraged migration to the area, leading to the establishment of homesteads and the development of agriculture. Japanese occupation and post-war era. During World War II, Bukidnon, like the rest of the Philippines, experienced Japanese occupation. After the war, it underwent reconstruction and further development. Indigenous culture. The indigenous tribes of Bukidnon have rich cultural traditions, including intricate craftsmanship, colorful dances, and oral literature passed down through generations. Music and dance. Traditional music and dance play a significant role in Bukidnon's cultural expression. The music often involves indigenous instruments such as the kulintang, agong, and gimbal. Craftsmanship. Bukidnon is known for its traditional crafts, including woven textiles, baskets, and wood carvings, which often depict motifs inspired by nature and tribal legends. Natural attractions. Bukidnon boasts breathtaking natural landscapes, including rolling hills, dense forests, and majestic waterfalls. Popular destinations include Mount Kitanglad Range, Natural Park, Lake Apo, and the Dahilayan Adventure Park. Agritourism. With its fertile soil and cool climate, Bukidnon is also known for its agricultural tourism. Visitors can explore organic farms, coffee plantations, and fruit orchards scattered across the province. Adventure tourism. Adventure enthusiasts can enjoy activities such as zip-lining, horseback riding, and whitewater rafting in Bukidnon's scenic surroundings. Kamulan Festival. This is Bukidnon's most famous festival, celebrated annually in Malaybalay City. It showcases the rich culture and traditions of the indigenous tribes through colorful street dancing, indigenous music performances, and traditional rituals. Lumadnong Gama Bukidnon. This festival celebrates the indigenous heritage of Bukidnon and honors the cultural practices of its Lumad communities. It features cultural showcases, indigenous games, and traditional food. Sinulog sa Sumilao. Held in Sumilao town, this festival combines elements of the Sinulog festival from Cebu with the indigenous traditions of Bukidnon. It includes street dancing, parades, and religious processions. Bukidnon's history, culture, arts, tourism, and festivals collectively contribute to its identity as a vibrant and culturally diverse province in the Philippines. Thanks.
Spanish. Did you know that before the Spanish arrived, the Philippines had its own well-structured society? Let's take a quick dive into the fascinating social classes of pre-colonial times. At the top of society was the datu. The datu was the ruler of a barangay, acting as the political, economic, and military leader. They were highly respected and wielded great power over their people. Next were the maharlika. These were the noble class, often warriors or close relatives of the datu. They enjoyed privileges, didn't pay taxes, and fought in battles to defend their community. Then came the timawa. These were the freemen, farmers, traders, and artisans. Unlike the maharlika, they didn't have noble blood, but they weren't slaves either. They worked their own land and lived independently. At the lowest level were the alipin. But did you know there were two types of alipin? Aliping namamahay. These were serfs who lived in their own homes, worked for their master, but had some rights and could eventually earn their freedom. Aliping sagwigulid. These were slaves who lived in their master's house, had no property, and could be sold or traded. Fun fact, social mobility was possible. A timawa could become a maharlika through bravery in battle, and an alipin could gain freedom through hard work or marriage. So, what do you think about this ancient social structure? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more fascinating history facts.
This has happened a few times. I was in a province, looked around, and in my head thought loudly, this doesn't look like the Philippines. I realize now that that is probably one of the most ignorant things I could have said. The Philippines is diverse, not just its food, but its people, but also its landscapes. Bukidnon is a breath of fresh air, literally. If you're used to humid and cramped cities, coming to Bukidnon makes you want to believe that the Philippines could have its green revolution, where people care about the environment and slow, thoughtful development, where you can come to satisfy your hunger and nourish your soul. When we think of provinces in the mountains in the Philippines, we all gravitate towards Benguet, but Bukidnon should be part of that conversation. It has so much to offer. It is considered one of our food baskets, meaning that you get a ton of seasonal and diverse produce throughout the year. Because of that, during the American colonization period, they developed the area to be an important agricultural base. It is actually still the case today. The pride of the locals can be felt everywhere, from the tribes keeping their traditions alive, to the farmers and their produce. There's a positive energy here that fosters a sense of identity. I started off my exploration in Kumaykay River Farm, the perfect example of a Bukidnon dwelling, unimposing, open, in line with nature. Today, it's part restaurant, part glamping, campground, pop-up space, open concert area, farm, and feels like an ever-evolving, beautifully designed DIY project that exists for its community and the people who work here. I feel like each time I come to Bukidnon, there's a really strong community bond.
In this area, yes.
In this area, because you guys are all farmers, all have the same ethos.
We have the same mindset.
So this before you were saying all of this was farm.
Yeah, it's farm. Where the house is was the only place that doesn't have a greenhouse.
Is it the
nursery?
Nurseries for the lettuce.
Yeah.
So when you first started this, the first initial idea was one. It was just to live here.
Yeah.
I mean, so you had the commercial farm, and then you decided.
It was my dad's farm.
Yeah.
And I decided to build a house.
You've only set up the restaurant 2 years ago. And what was the idea there? You wanted to start a business here, or?
Yeah.
But still following kind of your philosophy on.
Yeah, always.
How you want people to appreciate this place and.
I want to keep it like that.
Yeah. JJ built his house here, close to the river, the perfect lullaby, he says. I first heard of JJ when I was shooting a series in nearby farms about 10 years ago. A young chef who cooked tasting menus in the mountains of Bukidnon from his home kitchen by invitation only. Creative minds often don't settle. The idea grew, so did the space. JJ is a collector, a pianist, an artist, and a chef. All of that culminates in how he approaches food, looking at ingredients as vehicles of flavor rather than prescribed dishes. Everything is made from scratch in collaboration with nature and his people. So what are you making today? This is the Robin Padilla?
Robin Padilla sandwich. Reuben sandwich is a Russian sandwich made with beef pastrami and sauerkraut. But this is a Filipino version.
Nice.
So we're using our smoked beef here. This has been smoked for 10 hours.
Oh, wow. So why is that such a big thing here? Like sausages, smoking?
Bukidnon a long time ago was dominated by Americans because of Del Monte.
Ah, okay.
The ham, pineapple-fed cattle.
Cattle's, yeah. So it's a strong American influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Bukidnon was really famous for.
Famous for
ham.
Correct, yeah. I mean, Bukidnon is also known for having amazing agriculture, right? There's a lot to play with, but even more, the ground's fertile enough to be able to grow different things also, right?
Yeah, it's like the food basket of the Philippines. So this is the caramel sauce. A little bit of the homemade hot sauce, homemade coleslaw.
I was trying to figure out your menu, and I feel like it's just the underlying kind of concept is just making everything from scratch. So how did you get into cooking? Like, when did you learn?
After college, my mom go to the US. I went there. So happened a cousin of mine owns a Thai restaurant. I got bored. So after like a month, like, oh man, I wanna go home. No, stay there. I was an unwanted child, right? So my cousin told me like, Jay, why don't you learn how to cook? I can teach you. So that was my first lesson, you know. I worked 4 years. Then I came back to the Philippines in 2008, opened a restaurant.
So when do you think you started developing kind of like your personal style with food?
Yeah, when I did the degustation, I really had to study and somehow, work with what I have.
So is that kind of like your approach to cooking, is using what's around you, how to preserve it for a longer time? So very farming kind of
survival
mindset, surviving mindset.
That's it. That's our Reuben sandwich. Enjoy.
Watching him and his team is like watching craftsmen using the best ingredients to put out their best work with skills that are developed in peace. From the breakfast setups by the river to their pizzas, they are made with care, vibrant, fresh, colorful, and a representation of their terroir. Oh, this is a cool spot. This is staring at me, so I'm gonna try this. I love how colorful this is. Let me try Mark Schultz's
Robin Padilla.
What's kind of your hope for Bukidnon? How do you want to see it develop? Because right now it's still very much under the radar, right? Like when you think of mountain towns in the Philippines, Baguio comes to mind.
Yes.
But I think this is quite special because it's still very
Still very raw, but
still very unknown and still very raw.
Little by little, it's getting known, you know. The government, the Special Department of Tourism, they're saying like it's safe to go to Mindanao. I just hope that, the government's really gonna take care of the waste management, but, the forest should be protected.
Correct. I mean, for me, it's also a big thing about the type of businesses, because I'm guessing right now it's gonna be mostly local, but I feel like you can curate it, because if people come here for the nature, ideally all the businesses blend. Feels very homey.
Homey, yeah. I prefer Kumaikai to stay like that, though.
Where's the sweetness from?
From the caramel. That caramel.
Caramel. Okay, that's a good sandwich. I
you.
understand why Mark likes it so much. Driving along the province in the lowlands, you will see a lot of pineapples. In the 1920s, Americans brought in seeds from Hawaii, where a pest infestation was devastating their crop. It grew from there and became the base of operation for Dole. But before all that, Bukidnon is really the home of the Lumads, some of the original inhabitants of the country. There are still 7 hill tribes in Bukidnon. All of them are fighting to preserve their traditions, through their music, their tattoos, and their way of life.
I'm Kirk Paulo T. Cañete po. I'm a local tour guide here in Impasugong po and brand ambassador na rin po ng Proud Lumad po. Ang Proud Lumad, mapreserbar pa gyud ug unsa gid ang naakaron nga nabilin pa kabilin sa mga katigulangan nga amo pang maika-share sa kadaghanan sa kabatan-unan sa puhon. Mao na among gatan-awon sa layo ug sa puhon nga makit-an pa nila ug unsa among nakit-an sa pagkakaron nga ilang kabilin sa katigulangan para sa amo. Isa pod sa amo diri kay ang embrace authenticity lagi, so gawas atong pag-preserve sa culture nga anaa pa karon. Ang among mga products diri kung makita ninyo sa akong likod na mga painting, so gi-invite pod namo ang uban pod nga mga local artist para pod ilang maipasundayag pod ug unsa pod ang ilang kaya ipakita. So mo na mo naka-display. Isa pod ana nga makatabang pod mi sa ilaha. Ang Kalandang Weavers, just like na rin na yung mga product pod, ang Kalandang Weavers from Mintapod. So layo na kay na sila dinhi, far-flung areas na gid na sila. Pero nadala na mo ilang produkto diri, nagkakita sila kay para ang amo tabang lang gid pa pod sa ilaha nga mo kita sila nga napoy ilang abot pod.
Atong laagon ang tribus Bukidnon.
In behalf pod siguro sa mga lumad nga nabilin diri sa Bukidnon, nga proud lumad, mapasalamaton kay mi kay isa gyud ang gobyerno nga naghatag og panahon para mapreserba ug unsa pa ang naa sa amo diri. Dayon isa pod ana nga mong nagpabilin pa gyud ang pagka-authentic sa Bukidnon kay daghan kay mga advocate po diri nga mga low-key lang gyud kay sila nga gatabang sila para lang gyud dili mawala, mapadayon og mapreserba ang kultura nga naa pa sa amoa. Ang pinakanindot gyud sa Bukidnon is ang amo yung kultura. Walay kapariha, walay pwede mo awat kay kamera nga festival sa tibuok Pilipinas, ang non-religious nga festival. Mo na among gusto i-preserve pa gyud. Kay lahi ra gyud og naa ka sa Bukidnon. Nindot gyud kayo ang Bukidnon nga bisitahon.
I'm going to be honest. I had never heard of the Monastery of Transfiguration in Malaybalay. It's a Benedictine monastery known for its pyramid-shaped church designed by national artist Leandro Locsin. That alone is reason enough to visit. It's the perfect backdrop for a spiritual retreat. Established in 1983, the abbey is meant to look like a Filipino Bahay Kubo come church. It's quite impressive. But that's not the most intriguing story here. We heard of a once prominent fashion designer who eventually became a monk.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Transfiguration.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, please
Erwan,
come in.
Nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
Oh,
Sorry,
thank you.
what do I call you? What's your name?
Dom Martin.
Dom Martin.
Dom Martin. Dom is the traditional way of addressing the monks.
Okay. Gang Gomez was once the most sought-after designer, along with Joe Salazar or Ino Soto. He was known for his embroidery and his use of indigenous materials like piña and abaca. He closed down his shop in Manila in the 1990s when he decided to join this monastery, which had been a dream of his since he was a teenager. A couple of years later, he took up another challenge. He was tasked with designing a 50-piece collection of garments for the Eucharistic celebrations using fabrics woven by the indigenous tribes of the Philippines. He was given 2 years to complete the collection in time for the nation's centennial independence celebration.
I was a fashion designer for 20 years. I had to stop designing first while I was under formation.
Okay.
But as soon as I was solemnly professed, I was immediately asked to start teaching at the Institute of Liturgy on the enculturation of vestments.
Okay.
The students started to ask samples of what a Filipino vestment should look like.
You contributed a lot to this?
I designed all of this.
Ah, you did? Incredible.
Yes, yeah. Nothing's ever really lost. People were saying when I entered the monastery, sayang, had a good career, that he gave it up. It was just a preparation for what I will be doing later on for the church.
Amazing. So have these been worn?
Yes, in fact,
they
this
do?
was
Okay.
worn by the Pope's delegate last July. This was designed for Cardinal Tagle when he was the main celebrant here.
Just like how many tribes around the country indigenize Christianity or Islam, integrating religious beliefs and practices with indigenous traditions, customs, and values, this work showcases how there can be beauty in partnership.
We started with just 7 hectares. Now, after more than 40 years, this is a little over 100 hectares.
Wow. So here, the products that you make are coffee,
Basically
peanut.
coffee. A foreigner came in, looked at the hill that was with coffee trees all in bloom, and he said, why don't you roast your
Roast
own
them.
coffee and sell it as roasted beans? I said, we don't know
How to do that.
He said, let me teach the monks. I said, you can buy my old machine, pay me when you can.
So
So I said,
blessing.
he was really a blessing.
Yeah. Monasteries, similar to other institutions, require funding to sustain their operations, which include maintaining their facilities and grounds and supporting charitable and educational endeavors. As such, many abbeys have different products they produce. In Belgium, some of them make beer. Others generate income from tourism. Here, they roast their own coffee. After the training and setting up their operations, Dom Martin took a few trips to the capital and went door to door to various retailers to try and get their product on the shelves. Eventually, some large supermarkets started carrying them. The pandemic derailed their plans a little, but you can support them by looking out for Monk's Blend in specialty shops or digital stores.
I really truly enjoyed that. I think spiritual tourism, pilgrimages are becoming things that people kind of search for. These places have a lot of history. And this abbey specifically, why it's so interesting is because it shows you how you can integrate indigenous, cultures into religion, and how these two worlds can kind of work together, and how they can both be uplifted by those shared commonalities.
We spent more time than expected with Dom Martin. I was just in awe of his colorful life story. We were running a little late, so our options for food were thinning out. A local follower was kind enough to point us to Waten's, where they kept a portion of their beef halang-halang for us, a slightly spicy and sour soup usually made with lots of offcuts of meat, stewed for hours.
Kasi noon, hindi pa kami nakasiguro kami sa Panginoon ba, magkaganito kami. Maliit lang yung pag-umpisa namin. Araw yon ng Bagong Taas, yun nagsimula. Pumatok yung sabaw namin, ito. Ito na ang result sa pagtiyaga namin ng nagbinta ng sabaw. Ito yung laman ng baka, lagyan namin ng egg. Mayroon kaming liver steak na baka, paklay, kaya lang naubos na. Mayroon kaming mga dilis, lumpia. Ganyan, naubos na lahat. Apelido yan ng asawa ko kasi Waten's Eatery pa noon. Ginawa na namin restaurant kasi sabi ng mayor namin, established na kami. Yung pag-serve namin, ma'am, kami talaga yung mag-serve. Yung asawa ko nagluluto, ako ang mag-serve. Entertain talaga ako, sabihan ko talaga na masarap. Try nyo. Yan. Unless of din kami, ma'am, walang limit.
This looks interesting. This is what comfort usually looks like to me. Something just beautifully soupy. So this was recommended to us. It is a little late, so obviously the production is pretty much done, but it does get apparently really packed during the day. I go in all the time when it comes to really rich collagen-y soups, and I can see it happening here, so I'm really happy. And there's a fried egg in the soup, which makes me even happier. You can tell there's a deep bone broth flavor, something that's been on the stove for a long time. Usually in these type of places, what I love particularly is if something's being cooked all day, the product you get in the morning is very different from the product you get at night, because the flavor intensifies as you cook it down, and then usually there's more water added, and then it cooks down. So if you like places like this, you come at different times during the day and you get different experiences. You got these beautiful bits of collagen and skin kind of floating around. I mean, you love kind of little spots like this that become institutions. It's the best part.
When we were looking for a coffee supplier for our restaurant Chingolo, we knew we wanted to look local. Curve is dedicated to uplifting local communities and advancing the sustainable growth of local specialty coffee. They are thoroughly engaged in the farm-to-cup ethos and collaborate with farmers all around the country. They've set up here around the beautiful Lake Napalit, an area that can grow both Robusta and Arabica beans that are now in high demand. Farming and agriculture are stifled with issues in the Philippines. One of the most pressing ones is that younger generations don't see any future in it. It's ironic. Specialty coffee shops are on the rise in big cities, but farmers are often seen as just suppliers and not part of the whole process. This is where things can and will change. We met brother and sister Elgene and Marvin de Gohoy. Their parents were coffee farmers, but they took things further. They are both certified Q graders, meaning they are skilled in the sensory evaluation of green coffee and have been trained in brewing methods as well. They have an understanding of what customers look for and how they can apply that to their farming practices. They now bring even more value to an already high-value product.
third generation na kami ng coffee farmers, starting with our lolo. 2012, ang mga kapatid ko, kami yung nagtanim ng puno na sinasaka namin ngayon ng kape. Isang phrase talaga na na-remember ko kay Papa is yung coffee is gold. Hindi namin alam kung ano yun before, but right now, alam na namin kung bakit ginto or magiging treasure yung kape sa family. Kung dito sa Pilipinas, halos lahat kumakain ng bigas. Pero buong mundo, halos lahat nagkakape. Nakita niya na in the long run, magiging in demand yung kape. Right now, dito sa barrio, we have 3 bumibili ng kape namin. Si Curve, si Co-op, tsaka si Kalsada. Sobrang laking tulong ng 3 grupo na to sa community. We have now our freedom kung yung i-deliver ba namin is ripe cherries, green beans, o commercial coffee. We have now an avenue kung saan lahat ng kape may tahanan. Parang ganun. Nagsimula talaga siya na si Curve is providing us trainings. Good agricultural practices up to post-harvest processing. Yung mga local farmers dito sa community, mas naging invested sila na magtanim ng kape because of those mga bumibili na. Mas maganda yung quality, mas higher yung price. So if we don't adapt to the changes or the modern technology, we will settle pa rin sa commodity price.
In Curve, we do have 16 hectares. All are productive, but we still have 7.5 hectares
To develop.
develop.
Oh, wow. And you both grow exclusively for Curve?
Yes, these farm are for Curves, but we
Okay.
have our own farms.
As you manage other farms
Yeah,
also? Oh,
the
nice.
family farm.
Okay.
So in this area, we have 3 varieties, which are Pacamaras. We have sweet coffees, locally known sweet coffees, but it resulted 100% Ethiopian landrace. And we also have a suspected geisha from Baguio.
And these are all subspecies of Arabica.
Arabica.
Yeah.
Have you tried trying the fruit?
A fresh
the
coffee bean? It's like peppery. The harvesting happens in what months usually?
For Arabica, we have only.
Oh wow, okay. I didn't know
But
that.
for Robusta, we have for like 2 months.
The yield of Robusta is way higher
Ah,
comparing to a tree of Arabica. A Philippine Robusta has been competing in the market for the prices.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, and the quality of Philippine Robusta is quite similar to Arabica right now.
Correct. I personally like that we're starting to see a lot of more Robusta, specialty coffee shops.
Mm.
People are becoming more playful with Robusta.
Yeah.
So how does it feel as farmers to kind of see people appreciating that?
It's overwhelming, especially comparing before when coffee was just
Like a commodity?
Yeah, commodity.
Yeah, yeah,
No one's appreciating it the way how we appreciate other crops. And now it's crazy.
Nice.
It's crazy. So Nanay Priming and Tatay Freddy.
So they're farmers,
Yes.
but they also do their own,
Yes.
their processing and drying here.
Yes. First, they get the berries and then wash it, clean it, do the flotation. So they have their own small all-weather dryer.
Oh, cool.
This natural process is nice because it still undergoes fermentation on its own while drying, so it has time to develop more flavors.
More complexity,
Yes.
more flavors, okay. And then depending on the process, the prices change.
No,
so
depending on the quality and the cup score.
Okay. So it really comes down to the cup score at the end
Yes,
of
at
when
the
the
end.
green beans are processed. Moral of the story, guys, when you drink your coffee in the morning, you're not only kind of drinking something that was created by a whole community, but you're creating something that is just so intense. For someone who's an outsider, so difficult to kind of understand. So seeing all this will give you greater appreciation, but that's not only the case for coffee, but absolutely every high value crop or any food that you put in your mouth, really. So stop wasting.
Malayo na. Kung noon, hirap rin talaga kaming makakita ng bibili ng kape sa tamang presyo. Ngayon, nandito na si Curve na tumutulong talaga sa community and a lot of opportunities talaga dumating.
We missed out on so much. Or maybe we did that on purpose so that we would have an excuse to come back. Or maybe that's what Bukidnon is. It's a widespread of stories, culture, and people who tend to and protect their land. It's not a province filled with monuments and zip lines. It's something that needs to be experienced, felt. As I said in the beginning, when the wind hits your skin, when the sun finally relents, a smile forms, and you just feel content. For now, this is maybe where you're meant to be.